Your brain is designed to lose money. Right now, as you're watching this, your mind is running mental programs that are literally making you poorer. And the worst part? You have no idea it's happening. Every financial decision you make is being hijacked. Your brain has these built-in shortcuts that made sense thousands of years ago when we were just trying to survive. But in today's world, with credit cards and online shopping and subscriptions you forgot about, these same mental tricks are absolutely destroying your bank account. The companies selling you stuff know exactly how your brain works. They're using your own psychology against you. But once you see these mind tricks for what they are, you can finally stop the bleeding and actually start building wealth. So let's break down every single way your brain is programmed to keep you broke. Here's what nobody tells you about being poor. It's not just about not having money. It's about your brain actively working against you every single day. You wake up, you check your phone, and within seconds, you're seeing ads designed by psychologists who spent years figuring out exactly how to make you want things you don't need. You walk into a store, and the entire layout is engineered to manipulate your decision-making. You look at your bank account and feel stressed, which makes you more likely to make even worse money decisions. This is the cycle. Your brain has these mental programs running in the background, and they're all pushing you toward being broke. The scary thing is, most people go their entire lives without ever realizing this is happening. They just think they're bad with money. They blame themselves for not having discipline or willpower. But it's not about willpower. It's about understanding the game that's being played with your mind. Let's start with the big one. Why spending money feels so much better than saving it. This isn't just you being weak or bad with money. This is literally how your brain is wired. When you buy something, anything, your brain releases dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical. It's the same stuff that gets released when you eat good food or scroll social media, or do anything that feels rewarding in the moment. But here's the problem. Saving money doesn't give you that hit. When you put $100 into your savings account, your brain doesn't throw you a party. There's no immediate reward, no dopamine spike, nothing. Your brain is sitting there going, okay, cool, but what do I get right now? And the answer is nothing. You get nothing right now. You get something later, maybe years later, and your brain absolutely hates that. This is why buying a new phone feels amazing, even though you know you can't really afford it. Your brain gets that instant reward, that dopamine hit, but choosing not to buy the phone? That feels like punishment. You're denying yourself something, and your brain interprets that as pain. So you're literally fighting against your own biology every time you try to save money instead of spending it. And it gets worse, because the more you're broke, the more your brain craves those dopamine hits from spending. When your life feels stressful or boring or unsatisfying, buying stuff becomes one of the few ways to feel good quickly. This is why people who are struggling financially often make the worst financial decisions. It's not stupidity. It's your brain desperately trying to feel something positive in a situation that feels mostly negative. The companies know this. They know exactly how this works. That's why everything is designed to give you instant gratification. One-click ordering, buy now, pay later. Free shipping, easy returns. They're removing every single barrier between you and that dopamine hit because they know once you get it, you'll keep coming back for more. Now let's talk about the present bias trap. This is probably the biggest reason most people stay poor their entire lives. Your brain values the present way more than the future, like dramatically more. There's actually a name for this in psychology. It's called hyperbolic discounting, but we'll just call it the present bias, because that's what it is. Here's how it works. Your brain looks at getting $100 today versus getting $150 in a year, and it picks the $100 today almost every single time, even though waiting would give you 50% more money. Your brain sees the future reward as basically worthless compared to getting something right now. It's like your future self doesn't even exist to your present brain. This is why you can't save money even when you know you should. This is why you spend your paycheck before you even think about putting some aside. This is why you buy lunch every day, even though meal prepping would save you thousands of dollars a year. Your present self wants to feel good now. Your future self can deal with the consequences. And the crazy thing is, your future self does have to deal with the consequences. That version of you who's struggling to pay rent, or stressing about bills, or working a job you hate because you can't afford to quit, that's the person who's paying for all the decisions your present self is making right now. But your brain doesn't care. It can't see that connection clearly enough to change behavior. The present bias shows up everywhere. You know you should invest money for retirement, but that's decades away. Your brain literally can't process that kind of timeline in a meaningful way. You know you should build an emergency fund, but emergencies are hypothetical future problems. They're not real to your brain right now. So you spend the money on something that gives you pleasure today instead. This is why poor people stay poor and rich people get richer. Rich people have either naturally overcome this bias or they've learned to work around it by setting up systems that force their future self to benefit. Automatic transfers to savings. Automatic investments. They don't rely on their present self to make good decisions for their future self because they know their present self is an idiot when it comes to long-term thinking. But there's more. Your brain also has this thing called mental accounting, and it's completely irrational. But it controls how you spend money. You treat money differently based on where it came from or what you've mentally labeled it for. You get your paycheck, and that's bills money, so you're careful with it. But you get a tax refund or a birthday gift, or you win $20 on a lottery ticket, and suddenly that's fun money that you can blow on whatever. It's the same money. It has the same value. But your brain creates these mental categories and treats them totally differently. This is why people will save up for months to buy something, but then blow the same amount of money on a random purchase without thinking twice, just because they mentally labeled that money as extra or bonus money. You'll stress about spending $5 on coffee, but then waste $50 on a subscription service you forgot you had. You'll drive across town to save $3 on groceries, but then order takeout and spend $30 more than cooking would have cost. Your mental accounting is completely inconsistent and irrational, but it feels logical in the moment because that's how your brain is framing it. Then there's the pain of paying. When you hand over physical cash, your brain feels loss. You physically see the money leaving your hand. There's a little spike of pain in your brain. It's subtle, but it's there. This is actually a good thing for saving money because that pain makes you think twice about spending. But credit cards remove that pain completely. Contactless payment removes it even more. You're not seeing money leave. You're just tapping a card or clicking a button. There's no psychological pain associated with the transaction. So your brain doesn't pump the brakes. It doesn't make you hesitate. You just spend and spend and spend because it doesn't feel like you're losing anything in the moment. This is by design. The payment industry has spent billions of dollars figuring out how to make paying feel as painless as possible, because painless payment means more spending. Every innovation in payment technology has been about reducing friction and eliminating that pain of paying. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Amazon One-Click, buy now, pay later services, they all exist to remove the psychological barrier that would normally stop you from spending money you don't have. And it works. Studies show people spend way more when using cards than cash. They spend even more with contactless payment. And they spend the most with buy now, pay later options because you're not even paying right now. You're promising your future self will pay. And we already know your present self doesn't care about your future self. Let's talk about the anchoring effect with money. This is when the first number you see completely changes how you perceive value. You walk into a store and see a jacket for $500. That's the anchor. Now, everything else looks cheap in comparison. A $200 jacket seems like a bargain, even though you'd never normally spend $200 on a jacket. Online shopping uses this constantly. They show you the original price, crossed out next to the sale price. That original price is the anchor. It doesn't matter if the item was ever actually sold at that price. Just seeing the higher number makes the lower number feel like a deal. Your brain latches onto that anchor, and everything gets measured against it. This is why people walk out of stores having spent way more than they planned. The store set a high anchor with expensive items at the front, and now everything else feels more reasonable. You came in planning to spend $50, and you leave having spent $200, but it feels okay because you saved $300 off the original prices. The scarcity trick is another big one. When something feels rare or limited, your brain assigns it more value. Only 3 left in stock. Sale ends tonight. Limited edition. These phrases trigger something in your brain that makes you want it more and makes you want it now. It doesn't matter if you didn't want it 5 minutes ago. The second you think it might not be available, your brain goes into panic mode. This is pure psychology. We evolved to grab resources when they were available because in nature, scarce things were often valuable for survival. But companies have figured out how to manufacture scarcity. They're creating artificial limits to trigger that evolutionary response in your brain. And it works every single time. You see a countdown timer on a website and you feel pressure. You see only 2 rooms left at this price. On a hotel site and you book immediately without comparing prices. You hear limited time offer and you stop thinking rationally about whether you even need or want the thing. Your brain just goes, rare thing, must have, act now, and your wallet opens up. Now here's where this gets really important. All of these mind tricks work together. They're not separate problems. They're all hitting you at the same time, from every direction, all day long. You wake up with present bias, telling you to order breakfast instead of making it. You scroll your phone and see ads designed to trigger scarcity and social proof. You go shopping and get hit with anchoring and mental accounting. You check out with painless payment methods that remove any hesitation. Your brain is under constant assault from systems designed by people who understand psychology better than you do. And unless you're aware of what's happening, you don't stand a chance. You're going to stay broke, not because you're dumb or lazy or bad with money, but because you're playing a game you didn't even know existed. But here's the thing. Once you see these tricks, once you understand how they work, they start losing their power. You can't unhear this information. The next time you feel that urge to buy something, you'll catch yourself. You'll notice the countdown timer and realize it's manipulation. You'll see the crossed-out price and know it's just an anchor. You'll feel the pull of instant gratification and recognize it's your present bias talking. This awareness is everything. Because you can't beat these mind tricks with willpower alone. Willpower runs out. Willpower gets tired. But understanding how your brain works, that's permanent. That's the cheat code that actually lets you start winning. Your brain is wired to make you poor. The dopamine hit from spending beats the invisible benefit of saving. Your present self dominates every decision, while your future self suffers the consequences. Mental accounting makes you treat identical money completely differently based on arbitrary categories. Painless payment methods remove the natural brake your brain has on spending. Anchoring makes you think you're getting deals when you're actually getting played. Scarcity triggers panic buying of things you don't even want. All of this is happening automatically, under the surface, every single day. The companies taking your money know exactly how this works. They've spent billions figuring out how to exploit these mental tricks. But now you know too. You know why that purchase feels so good in the moment. You know why saving feels like punishment. You know why you keep making the same financial mistakes even though you know better. The solution isn't to fight your brain. You'll lose that fight. The solution is to work with your brain while being aware of these tricks. Set up automatic transfers so your money gets saved before your present self can spend it. Use cash for discretionary spending so you feel that pain of paying. Recognize anchors and scarcity tactics for what they are. Give yourself small rewards for saving so your brain gets some dopamine from doing the right thing. You're not broken. Your brain isn't defective. It's just running old software in a new world. A world designed by marketers and corporations to extract as much money from you as possible. But with awareness, with understanding how these mind tricks work, you can finally start making decisions that actually help your future self instead of just satisfying your present self. This is how poor people become rich. Not by making more money, though that helps, but by stopping the leak, by recognizing when their brain is being manipulated and choosing differently, by seeing the game for what it is and refusing to play by rules designed to keep them losing. You now know every major mind trick that's keeping you broke. The question is, what you're going to do with that information. Most people will watch this, nod along, and then go right back to the same patterns because changing behavior is hard. But you're not most people. You're someone who watched a 20-minute video about financial psychology because you actually want to improve your life. That already puts you ahead. If this changed how you see money, the next video breaks down exactly how to use this knowledge to actually build wealth.